Hey, everybody, good morning and welcome to the Mark Daniel Show. It is 2021. We made it through 2020. I know we're not out of the woods yet, but you know what? I feel we can breathe. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Mark Daniel Show. I see I got 6 viewers right now. So thank you, 6 people, for tuning in. I'm very excited for tonight's show, the Mark Daniel Show, because I think it's time we laugh again. I think it's time we find some comedy. And I'm very excited to have Josh Sneed on the show. A very funny guy and a cool dude, a dad, and also a Star Wars fan. So I figured I'd have him on the show. We'll talk some Star Wars. We'll talk what's life like in Cincinnati. We'll talk comedy. And I'd like to introduce you to his comedy right now. So I'd like to show a little bit of Josh Sneed. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at Josh Sneed right now before I bring him on.
A lot of comedians, after the show, we get to talk to people. We get to meet people. They always want to ask the same questions. The one that I get asked the most is, why do you do stand-up? How'd you get into doing stand-up? And it's pretty simple reason. I feel like I'm funny all the time. And I don't mean 24 hours a day. I mean not just when I'm on stage, right? But the problem with that is when I'm funny out there in the real world, and I don't have lights and a microphone and cameras on me and people sitting in chairs next to each other, facing me, waiting to hear something funny, a lot of times jokes just go to waste. So I started doing stand-up to give my humor a second chance at life.
All right, well, there you have it, Josh Sneed. I love his sense of humor, so laid back and so charming. So right now, I would like to welcome to the Mark Daniel Show, Mr. Josh Sneed. Welcome, Josh.
Hello, Mark. How are you, my friend?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for starting the show with a laugh, man.
Well, we can only hope, right?
Yes, indeed.
We'll never know.
You know what? There's people. We got Justin in the stream and Lauren, and they are having a great time. So thank you so much. So welcome to the show. Thanks for being on the show. And I want to ask you right now. You are from Cincinnati, Ohio?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And how is it over there right now? How's Cincinnati doing?
It is cold here right now. It's about 25 degrees. It's going to get into the negatives over the weekend. We had about 8 inches of snow 2 days ago, and we're going to get almost another foot on Monday.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so how's Florida?
Florida is hot, man. It is hot. Probably the hottest state in the union right now. All right. So, Josh, what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about your life, a little bit about Star Wars, because, we met because, I hosted Star Wars Celebration and enjoy walking around as a fan of Star Wars Celebration, which is, if you don't know, a big Star Wars convention to you viewers out there. And a lot of the viewers that watch this show, Josh, they are huge Star Wars fans as well. So I figured we'd kind of talk a little bit about Star Wars and our love for Star Wars. And you have a very interesting connection to Star Wars, and I'd love to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So my dad was a model maker for Kenner Toys here in Cincinnati, and he actually made Star Wars toys.
Oh, my goodness.
So as a kid, I mean, it was like a dream come true. My dad would bring home Star Wars toys from work all the time. And of course, I would play with them and get them dirty, not knowing that they were prototypes that would one day be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. But, I have the memory of, creating my own Endor and my own Hoth out in the backyard. And that's still worth as much to me as if I had those toys today, that I could sell them for something.
Yeah. Such great memories, man. And, watching the toys that made us and stuff and learning the history about where those toys come from. We know Kenner is a big part of the Star Wars action figure and collectible universe, right?
Yeah. And there was a book that came out 2 years ago called Engineering an Empire. And it's all about the employees of Kenner who were behind the Star Wars toys. And so there's a chapter that they did on my dad that they interviewed me for. So that was really cool, is to get a copy of that book and see like my dad's business card and all the pictures that I had found of him and his coworkers and a lot of the toys that he worked on, like in a book that is sort of paying, homage to all him and his coworkers.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, did your dad work on toys before Star Wars? Like, was your dad always cool because you knew he worked on toys, or did he get cool when he started doing Star Wars?
Well, I was born in 77, and I want to say that he started at Kenner in 78. So Empire was the first set of Star Wars toys that he worked on, but I was so young when that came out that I don't really remember too much about it. Return of the Jedi was the first movie that like I was able to go to the theater. I got to see it before any of my friends because they let the Kenner employees go see it first. So I felt really cool that I got to see Star Wars early. And that was the toy that, you know, that I was like asking for Christmas because I was old enough to play with them. And then of course I ended up developing such a love for the toys that came out like right before I was born, or, you know, like for Empire. But Return of the Jedi was like the first movie that I think I saw in the theater, and I really remember asking for like a speeder bike. And my dad worked on the Ewok Village.
What?
So, yeah,
are you serious right now?
Yeah. Yeah, and he worked on for Return of the Jedi. He worked on the Ewok Village and the B-wing. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
oh, that is amazing. And like, I can't imagine, like, you knowing now, you know what that means, what Star Wars means, what, you know, working on the Ewok Village means. As a kid, you probably didn't even think much about it. Just like, I'm ready to play with it.
No, it really just meant that I got invited to everybody's birthday party because they knew that I was going to bring a toy with me. You know. But it was really cool, you know, like it was very special. I have a ton of memories of like, you know, days where I might be off school, but he had to work. So my mom, like as a treat on those couple days a year, would take us down to have lunch with him at the Kenner building downtown. And, you know, got to go through the model shop and meet all his coworkers. And they'd always take us to there was like this cage that had all these toys in it. And they'd always let us pick a toy out of the cage. And it's just like, I mean, it's just like a dream come true for a kid to have those kind of memories, especially like when your dad played some role in creating them.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. You know, and speaking of toys, you know, one thing I like about Star Wars is when they bring out the new armor. You know, every movie has something new. So like, for instance, you know, when the Sith Troopers came out, how cool is that, huh, Josh?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Come on.
Yeah. You know, the Sith Troopers came out, you know, and another trooper I'd never seen before, these troopers here. Look at that.
The Mud Troopers.
The Mud Troopers. I remember the first time I saw that costume for Solo, and you were just like, what is happening right now? They're just so awesome. We all love those action figures, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And, you know, we're talking Star Wars right now, Josh. And I don't think we could talk Star Wars without bringing in this person right here. You know, and I just wanted to surprise you because I think if we're talking Star Wars, we got to talk with somebody that was in Star Wars. So I'd like to introduce Samantha.
Hey, Samantha.
We got you.
You got me.
We got him. Oh, Samantha, welcome to the show. Samantha, listen, right now, Josh, I want to tell you something. This is awesome that she's here. It is 2 a.m. where she is right now.
Ah, that's great.
She stayed awake for us. And the pictures I showed you, Samantha, people who don't know you, I want to tell everybody, all my viewers, who Samantha is. Samantha is an amazing person. She's a model. She's an actress. Not only that, she's been in the last 5 Star Wars films as amazing characters. And the 2 pictures I showed you, she was a Sith trooper. She was a Mud Trooper.
Min-Band Trooper. Min-Band Trooper. Mud Trooper is something else.
Oh, really? So educate us. So tell us what that trooper is.
That picture you just showed. They are, so basically they're just like an Imperial stormtrooper, but they're really muddy and they have capes. You gotta love a cape. They were in the Battle of Min-Band. So they're known as Min-Band stormtroopers. The Mud Troopers are actually the guy that Alden dressed up as with the helmet and the Justin will know and Tyler will know exactly what I'm talking about because they have those costumes. Those are Mud Troopers. These are Min-Band Troopers.
Min-Band Troopers. We got educated, Josh. We got educated.
I put in my place.
I'm wearing a t-shirt, Josh.
That's so awesome.
It's in light of it being Valentine's Day on Sunday, and also I feel like some people need to, you know, take the message. We won't say any more about that, but yeah, I just thought I'd pop by and say hi to my 2 favorite guys.
Oh, this is so awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah, we were just talking. So also I want to talk about why you're here and you're showing that shirt off. I'm going to show my shirt off too. Take a look at this. Right? It is face coverings required. Cool. Yes. So Josh,
I have them. I miss people one, which is the Stormtrooper. There we go. And I saw that on Mark, and I was like, Mark, I'm going to need that shirt. And then he kindly tagged Josh in, and that's how we met. And I also had a Christmas holiday jumper as well, but I forgot to take a photo of them. Sorry, but yeah, I love them. They're awesome.
So awesome.
Yeah, and they're pretty funny. And also, too, Josh, I want to say, too, 2020 was pretty tough for everyone, right? And, everybody's having their own stresses and stuff. And I kind of talked about it on some of my shows and some of my tweets and things like that. And Josh, out of the blue, sent me this shirt, these shirts. But the one that hit me the most was, it's almost over. Stay on target 2020 with the cog and the Jedi symbol. And he put my LOL for life with an X-Wing fighter flying. And Josh, I just really appreciated that, man. That really made my day.
Well, I'm glad. I'm thankful for both of you. And, it's for me, like when I went to Star Wars Celebration. So the first time that I ever went, it was total luck. My brother-in-law and my nephew were there. And I was just coming into Orlando on the last day for vacation. And so I walked around for about 2 hours. And I was like, man, this is really cool. And then they went to Europe, and then they came back to Anaheim. And my brother-in-law and myself and my nephew went out to Anaheim. And that was the first time I got to go to one of the big events, like on the main stage. Like I hadn't been there, but we were Jedi Master. And so we got to sit right up front. And I remember you're the first person that I saw there, because we go in and you and DJ Elliott are warming up the crowd. And I was like, man, this guy's really good, And I just remember like being so impressed by, because I've seen it as a comedian, I've seen a lot of like audience warm up and that sort of thing. And I'm like, man, this guy, he's got my dream job, right? Is to like warm up an audience at Star Wars Celebration. And then fast forward to Orlando for the Dark Side Half Marathon. I was there at, I don't know, what time do I have to get there for that?
Probably 2 in the morning.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear the music kick on and I hear Mark's voice. And I'm like, this dude is here hyping up people who are about to run, 13.1 or 26.2 miles. But the sun isn't even up yet. And he is like mid-season form. And that's when I found you. And I came up to you and I was like, dude, I've seen you at Celebration. You do an amazing job. And I said, I'm a stand-up comedian. If I ever get down here to do shows, I'd love to have you come to show. And you were like, I do comedy. And I was like, what? And that's when I messaged you on Facebook. And it's just like, we've been friends ever since then. And I appreciate how good you are at your job. But, to see somebody who's so upbeat and what 2020 has done to you and Samantha and a lot of people that, are going through patches here and there. It's like, that's the least I could do, is to make sure that the guy who is in charge of keeping all of us happy and excited stays happy and excited.
Aww. That is so sweet. Can I just concur? When I was at Celebration Europe, I was by myself. I knew nobody. I was new to the whole fandom, and I'd literally just done one movie. And I was walking around the floor, and I saw Mark on stage, and I was just like you, Josh. I was immediately just like, whoa, this guy is awesome. He's so positive. He's funny. And you just captured me. And I literally followed you right there on every social media. And I didn't meet you until Chicago in the queue at the Celebration store. And I was fangirling you so hard. I was like, oh my God, that's Mark Daniel. And I was with Matt Booker, and Matt was like, don't you know Mark? And I was like, no, I love him. He's amazing. He's so talented. And I'd followed you from that moment I saw you on the floor at Celebration Europe. Until that point, I was like, oh my God. And he introduced me to you. And honestly, I was just so over the moon to meet you, because I just think, like Josh says, you are so positive and inspiring. And even when times have been tough, when all that stuff happened with Disney and you came on to support your colleagues, you're just a beacon. And going back to what you said, Josh, about you know, keeping us inspired and happy. Star Wars is built on hope. The whole thing is built on hope and believing that things will get better. And I think, you know, both of you are just huge testament to that.
oh, thank you guys. I'm blushing over here, you know, but it's really about you guys. So thank you so much. But you know,
but Mike, it's not though. I mean, you're being modest. I'm just happy that I get to share a stage with you because my son, and I don't know if you remember me telling you this story or not, my son shared a stage with you before I did.
That's right. Yeah.
So at Celebration in Orlando, while we were waiting for the big panel to start, Mark asked if any of the people that had lightsabers wanted to come up and show off their lightsaber skills. So all these like grown men are up on stage, like acting like they're going to win a prize for how good they are with their lightsaber. And my son, who at the time was probably 5 or 6, was dressed like Kylo Ren and had his Kylo Ren saber. And we were up front and I just put him over the front row. Because you were like, all right, I think that's going to be the last one. And I go, Dean, run up. And so Dean runs up on stage and Mark's like, we got a late entry here. We got the real Kylo Ren here. And he just starts going crazy. And Mark's like, whoa, whoa. And then my son went to like force push him and Mark jumped back. And it's just like, my son still talks about it to this day. It's just like, you're the best, man.
Oh my goodness. And you know, it's why I'm so proud to have you all on the show. It's about the magic we made. I make my magic. Josh, you make your magic doing stand-up, making people laugh. And Samantha, you're creating magic in the Star Wars universe. But not only that, I like to call you, you know, you're like an activist. You make people aware of things, you know, and you have a platform. And I follow you. And some of the things you say is just so important for people that are on the fringes. And you point things out, you know, and especially with the platform you have and you do. So I really and truly appreciate it, you know.
Thank you, Mark.
And the biggest thing too is like when I met Sam is when I found out that Sam is the first, even though we hear female voices in the film, she is the first female stormtrooper in armor. Am I right?
I've been told that, but some people do dispute that. But that's what I was told officially by the film.
Okay. But also not only that, yes, but you have been in so many films, right? And you don't get in a Star Wars film because people don't like you. You are so positive, you know, you're a lot of fun. And, you know, from your stories, you know, you talk about the armor as you're also an honorary member of the 501st Night. I know they love you. And the armor is not easy to get around in. It's cumbersome and it's not all roses, right?
No, it's not as glamorous as people think it is. I think that goes for anyone in the movies, but especially with stormtrooping. We work for very long hours, and people think, oh, it's always going to be hot. But actually, what it does is it just magnifies whatever temperature you're in. So if it's hot, you're really hot. But if it's cold, you are so cold. Like when we shot the Sith Trooper stuff in Cardington, I nearly got hypothermia. I had to be escorted off set because I was literally blue. It was freezing. Like, I don't know if you know about Cardington. Cardington is really cool. It's this huge airship hangar with 2 of them next to each other. It's in Bedford in the UK. It's not far from my house. So I had a bunch of stormtroopers staying at my house, which was really cool. And so, yeah, we would just commute here every day. But because they are literally big enough to hold airships, you cannot see the ceiling. They have clouds inside.
Oh, my goodness.
Because it's so high. It has its own climate. And it was freezing. It was January, I believe. And it was so cold. So cold. So, yeah, whatever I had a hot water bowl inside my armor. And thermals as well. And hand warmers and the whole shebang. So, yeah, it's tough. It's so tough. And I know this is all about trying to lighten everyone's spirit to make people laugh. And I was thinking, what story could I tell these guys that will make them laugh? Some people probably heard these stories already, but the funniest thing, well, funny now, not so much then, about me being a stormtrooper is the toilet situation. Because men have somewhat of an advantage when it comes to going to the toilet in stormtrooper armor. I don't know if any of my 501st Legion ladies can vouch for this. I don't know how long you stay in it and what you're wearing underneath. But I I had real trouble. And on the first movie I did, I had a lovely costume girl, Crystal. She's from New Zealand. Hi, Crystal. And she literally had to escort me to the toilet every time because we just literally had to take off the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And by the time I went to the toilet and came back, it was like a 45-minute round trip. So after The Force Awakens, I had a summer break and I went to a music festival. And I'm diabetic, and diabetic means, you know, you have a weak bladder. And this is so gross, I'm saying all this stuff. But anyway, I was like, in the middle of the night when I'm at this music festival, I don't want to be going around like, you know, creeping around in the dark with loads of weirdos and, you know, I don't want to go and use these disgusting toilets. So I discovered this thing called a shiwi. And it comes in bags. It comes in bags with like crystals in that turn to gel. And I was just using this thing and it just suddenly came to me. I was like, oh my God, I can use this when I'm tripping. And so I bought myself a shiwi and I had a shiwi for all 5 movies. And there's been some really funny times with that thing. The funniest one was when I was on Solo and I went to the bathroom and I forgot to lock the door. And this poor girl, she comes in to use the bathroom and we have these like, you know, honey wagons. So they're like, you know, a box on wheels. And she opens the door and I'm literally standing up, right, peeing. And I look around and go, oh, sorry. And she just goes, oh, like, and she thought I had more equipment than it was very embarrassing and very funny. So I had to go and explain to her afterwards, but afterwards what it was, and she knew, but she was like, it's fine. And there's been other times where I've lost the shiwi and all of the crew, you know what guys can be like grip. And I'm talking about the crew, the real crew, the salt of the earth guys. They're really funny and they can give you a hard time. And they gave me a lot of grief when I'd lost it. And I was like, has anyone seen a little pouch that I had under this table? And they're like, what's in it, love? What's in it? What are you looking for? What's wrong? What you lost? What you lost, babe? What you lost? Yeah. So that was fun. So yeah, that was my my little story to make everyone laugh. I still have it, and I think I should be the face of Shiwi.
I think you should have a brand. Josh, come on now.
I mean,
collaborate.
I think it's such a great story because it just shows how much nicer things sound over there than over here, right? A honey wagon. Is that what you called it?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a generic term in the film industry. Like I think you have that over there. If you're going to the bathroom, you're going for 10-1. That's code. 10-1 for number 1. And I think 10-2 for, and yeah, you go to the honey wagon. So you don't say, oh, can I go? You say, just going for 10-1. And they go, right, okay. And then someone will say, oh, where's Sam? In the honey wagon, having a 10-1.
The honey wagon sounds so much better than.
I'm literally sharing so many secrets.
Right. No, that's good. Portaland. Just so you know, in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, so Star Wars has bathrooms because we have them in Galaxy's Edge, but we call them refreshers. Refreshers is what they're called.
Nice.
What do you call drinking fountains?
Bubblers.
Bubbler. Yeah.
Bubblers,
That's so cool. You guys have your own language. Yeah. I so need to get to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, you both have to go to Galaxy's Edge. I'm telling you, if you ever come to Galaxy's Edge, please let me know. I'd love to give you a tour. So find somebody who can give you a good one.
Oh yeah.
But Josh, let's talk to you about Star Wars. Like, I want to talk to you about. Sam is talking about those different characters, and she's played many different characters in the films. If you could play any character in Star Wars, what would you? Would you be a rebel? Would you be part of the Empire, a Sith, a Jedi? What would your perfect role be, Josh?
I mean, if I have my pick, like I think the bounty hunters are my favorite. I mean, you can see over there.
Yeah, I see.
I have signed pictures of like all the bounty hunters, and then that's signed by Jeremy. And I don't know. I've always loved the bounty hunters, but my son, he's obsessed with the Rebel Fleet Troopers. So since he was 5, he called them the blue guys. He had like an authentic blue guy uniform. I mean, come on, it's Star Wars. Like I would be the guy who sweeps up the panther poop if it could mean I could be in a Star Wars.
Right. Of course, yeah, definitely. you know, like you said, the bounty hunters are always the coolest characters. You know, I would like to be. I would love to be just a weird alien. You know, that's what I'd love to be. Just some because you know, and I think you'll agree with this. I'm a Star Trek fan as well, but Star Wars aliens are just so specifically Star Wars. Like any alien, anytime a new film comes out and you see an alien, you go, something about it. It's like, that's Star Wars. Like, I get that alien. Do you feel that way, Josh?
Yeah, I feel like they just like roll the dice on all kinds of like character traits, and then just whatever comes up, like they make that alien. But you're right. Like you look at it and you go, that has to be from Star Wars.
Yeah. There's something about it. There's just something with the detail, how it is. You know, it just feels like, yeah, there's something in the universe that looks like that.
And what's amazing is the detail that they put into characters that like never have a line, that are on camera for half a second. Like from the first one in Mos Eisley, you know, to like Maz's castle in The Force Awakens. It's like, just look at one of the ones in the background that isn't even in focus. I mean, the detail is insane. Like what, and I think that's what, it seems like that's what George Lucas's vision was, is that like every single character has their own story, and it's not just background noise for the two people that are talking.
Exactly. And speaking of that, you know, and with that, you know, you can get the visual encyclopedia, and that's what's beautiful about it. Like I remember looking through Canto Bight, right? I'm looking at all the characters. Canto Bight was so much. You're watching it and you're like, oh, look at that lady, look at this thing. And I'm looking through, and you see the little characters, and one character that you saw for a second, I think he was a little dude that worked in the bathhouse. And like he has this little bio. It's like, you know, works in the bathhouse, and you know, something happened, you know, because I think the fairs came running through and stuff. But
I remember that.
Right? Yeah. But also I also bring that up because Samantha, you are actually in the I believe you're in there once as a rebel pilot, right? Yes, indeed.
Yes. I so when we shoot, we get there's the franchise department, and they shoot, they scan, we all get scanned for CGI purposes, but then the franchise department logs every single character, because you know they don't know what they're going to do in the long run, and the powers that be look through these. There must be, honestly, I mean, just for me alone, there must be so many photos. Pablo Hidalgo has probably seen more photos of me than my own mother. But so you get these pictures taken, and then you just don't know what's going to happen to them. And I'm actually I have my little collection up here. I'm actually in, I think one more, but as a trooper, but sort of just a picture. It's not really a named character or anything. So for the whole like 5 or 6 years that I was working, I was just like, oh, please, one day. And then I kind of decided that, you know, Rise of Skywalker was going to probably be my last Star Wars gig, because I'm an actor and I want to act and I want to get out of the helmet and I want to speak. And so it was really nice. I ended up with JJ again, because I started with JJ and I ended with JJ, and it just had this really nice serendipity about it. And then the film came out, and then I got the character of Ali Samter, and I auditioned for JJ. I got a scene with John Boyega that unfortunately got cut, but everything was just so good. It was just like pinch me, everything's going great. And then literally I waited. The movie came out and blah blah blah, and then I ordered the book from Amazon. And we don't know anything. We're like you guys. We don't know what's coming. Like I always say, Star Wars is the gift that keeps on giving, because we're not told about what's going to happen or what's going to come out. They don't email you say, by the way, just so you know, this is going to happen. That doesn't happen. It would take too long. And so basically the book came from Amazon, and I was just sitting there like this. I was flicking through the pages and just hoping. And honestly, I don't think I've ever cried that much. And Pablo's very clever what he does. He always, I don't know if you noticed, he always uses anagrams of people's real names. Okay. For the characters. So all of Warwick's characters will have an anagram of Warwick. You notice it with him. Like obviously people don't notice because all the other characters, you don't know their real names.
Gotcha.
But also if you read all the little snippets of like what he says about your costume or your character, he kind of puts little Easter eggs in there. So he was very kind to me, and I thanked him for it. And yeah, he was really happy. And actually that was like 3 days before Christmas. So I was like, this is the best Christmas present ever. So yeah, that was amazing. I still can't quite believe it. I pinch myself all the time.
Oh, it's amazing. I like flipping through it in Barnes and Noble. I'm like, I know her.
Also, this book, Star Wars Stormtroopers.
Okay, it's a book on stormtroopers.
It's just on stormtroopers, and it's by Adam Bray and sorry, I can't see from here. I'm so blind. It's really good. It's literally foreword by John Boyega. Let me just get it down. Sorry, excuse my butt.
Josh, do you have any Star Wars books?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them.
Here we go.
I haven't gotten into many of the novels, like outside of the major story and movies, but I've got a bunch of books on Star Wars and the history of Star Wars and the toys and stuff. Yeah. So
this is the book, Ryder Wyndham and Adam Bray, forward by John Boyega. And my name's in this book. And again, I didn't know. And it literally, I was just like flicking through, and then it has a whole little section on me. And I was just like, this is crazy. So yeah. And I think, I have a few. I think I'm in a solo book as well as a Midnight Trooper. It's just crazy.
Can you imagine that, Mark? Like, I might be in this Star Wars.
Yeah, I know, right?
You see, right? This is what like. You say that, and if you guys know me a little bit, and I'm not like remotely conceited in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
The thing that happens with it is if you go into that world and it becomes so real to you that you just. And sometimes I look at you talking about the creatures. And you made such a good point about how good they look. And when you're standing next to these creatures, you're like, I just take it for granted that there's a 7-foot mole behind me with weird eyes. And they do look amazing. And also the guys that are inside those costumes, I cannot tell you how hard they work. Like a million times us. They can't breathe. They literally have to have tubes put in with air. It's insane. But yeah, I literally just be like, oh, hi. and it's not because it's I don't know, it's so strange, which is why I love the idea of Galaxy's Edge, because for us we're in that world, but we have cables everywhere and crew everywhere, and so you're kind of in it but you're not. There's that wall, whereas with Galaxy's Edge you have all of that magic but there's no like crew or wires or cameras, and I just think in a way that's even better than everyone would love to be in a film. But of course, I think the experience of being immersed in it must be so amazing to be at Galaxy's Edge. But yes, I know, amazing. Josh, just going back to what you were saying, I am incredibly lucky. And this all feels like a crazy dream. Like every moment, and I noticed the other day that I keep writing on Facebook, this was one of the greatest moments of my life. This was one of the greatest nights of my life. This was and people are going to think, dude, stop saying that. It's not true. It actually is true because I've had so many of those, and I'm so blessed.
Well, yeah, that is awesome. Well, Samantha, I know it's 2 a.m. over there where you are. I would invite you. You can hang out if you want to, or you can. I'm gonna
go, but I'm gonna keep watching because I want to hear from Josh. You guys need to entertain us with your very, very funny jokes. Yeah. But thank you so much for having me, and I'm so glad we surprised you.
Yeah, we did. Samantha, before you go, I know you said a little bit that you said you booked a role of a lifetime, I believe. You said you have something in the works. I hope that's still happening. I saw it.
It happened. It happened already.
Okay, good. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And
if you're thrilled, I cannot say anything, but it will be out sometime, and and it's amazing. I hope they keep it in. If they don't, then meh. Thank you so much.
But so many good things are going to happen for you. So if you want anybody to follow you, want to tell them where they can see more of you?
So I have a Facebook page called Samantha Aline, Actress and Model. I'm that capacity on my personal page. And I have Twitter, which is Sam KK Aline. It's a Greek thing. It's weird. And then at Sam in the City 79 on Instagram.
All right.
And I try and share lots of positivity, and I'm trying not to bore people and spam. So.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much for surprising us. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I definitely want to have you back on the show for a whole Star Wars show. Josh, do you have any questions for Sam? As she says, you just want to say
no, I follow her on the social. She's great, and it's funny too because like a similar story with you at Celebration Chicago. She was sitting like 2 rows in front of us at the episode 9 panel. And she had just gotten introduced by you as the first female stormtrooper in like the pre-ceremony. And I was with my son, my wife, and my daughter, and then my brother-in-law and all his kids. Well, his 3 kids, but he has twin girls, and they were so enamored by Samantha and her story and asked if she could have a picture. So I have a picture of me and my wife and kid. And then over our shoulder, you see my brother-in-law taking a picture of his daughters with Samantha.
It was so strange.
The same picture.
Literally, when I asked you about the T-shirt, Mark, literally you said, you tagged Josh, said, Josh, this is Sam. And then Josh messaged me straight away and said, hi, I'm the guy who made the T-shirt. Nice to meet you. But actually, we've already, and it was just so weird. Like, and I have photos with his family. I have photos which were taken with my phone, and I was like, "Oh my god, I remember you guys!" It's so crazy.
It's so small world.
Yeah, it is a small world. Well, thank you again, Sam.
Thank you
so much for staying awake. This is a pleasure. I'm sure the viewers loved hearing your Star Wars stories and that insight to Star Wars that we all love and we can't get enough of, especially with The Mandalorian, especially with Disney Plus showing behind the scenes and how they shoot things. So you're a lot of fun. The fans love you. So thank you so much, Samantha. It meant so much.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe, everyone. Lots of love. May the force be with you.
Thank you. Bye.
See?
I was about to be like, Mark, just talk to her. I'll just sit back and watch, man. Are you kidding me? Those stories are ridiculous.
They are awesome, man. They are awesome. Yes. So, Josh, man, I just wanted to surprise you with that. We're talking Star Wars, and I said, you know what? That'd be fantastic.
It's too cool. It's too cool. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem, man. So you know what I want to do right now, Josh? I want to get back into another one of your bits right now because we want to talk to you about a little bit about comedy before we wrap up. So I want to show another one of your clips, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Josh Sneed, everybody.
Guys, we got an obesity problem in this country. And I know you're like, is this dude about to make fun of fat people while using his stomach as an armrest? And the answer is yes. I sure am. Okay, you don't have to clap. That's not supposed to be the funniest thing I've said so far, okay? There's so many little signs that tell you need to fix it, all right? You need to get it together. Like I'm in a way now where if I raise my hand higher than this, I gotta fix my clothes when I put it back down. Had another one recently when I was on an airplane and the Delta flight attendant asked me to switch seats to balance out a 747. That will ruin your day instantly. Sir, if you go 10 feet that way, the whole plane will fly properly. Could you help us out? Could you help us out? Thank you. And if you have to use the restroom, please ring your call button so we can send 2 people back to your seat. I don't want to go nose up right into the sun, okay?
It's so weird to watch myself.
Josh, it's great though, man. It's great. It's fantastic. I know it's weird for you. But thank you so much, man. So, Josh, when did you start doing? When did you know you were funny? Because comedians have that moment where you look around and you're like, "All right, I think I'm gonna keep doing this." Like, did you have that moment?
Probably somewhere in high school, but like my dad was not only did he introduce me to Star Wars, but he was super funny. Like he was the guy that everybody went to when they needed a laugh. And it was something that I picked up on at a very early age of like, we'd be at like a party or something with a lot of adults and a lot of kids. And I would just always notice it when my dad would make a joke, like everybody would laugh. It was just, I don't know. It was just something that I picked up on. And my sense of humor was influenced more by movies than like we didn't listen to stand up in my house. So like Saturday Night Live, Airplane, Caddyshack, like those kind of movies were what really shaped my sense of humor. And it wasn't until I got into college that I really started getting into stand up. And at the time I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. And I just thought, I don't know where to start, maybe try some improv classes, but what could I do here in Cincinnati? And I thought I'll just give stand up a try and see if I can, how I feel about getting on stage and trying to make strangers laugh as my start off. And almost instantly I just fell in love with stand-up and the art of writing and that sort of command that you have being on stage by yourself versus up there with a bunch of other people. I enjoy that sometimes, of like, improv and that sort of thing, sketch, where it's a back and forth, kind of a dance or whatever, but having the microphone and it just being me, especially in a room of people who like don't know who I am, like there's just something exhilarating about like the laughter that comes from making people fans like in real time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean too. And what I like about your comedy is you have, when you come out on stage, is the confidence and you have this calm about you, which, I feel like I'm in good hands. This dude, it's a charm. You have a charm about you. Like, yeah, this dude's funny, man. I like, so I like, and that's what drew me to your comedy when I started looking you up and watching everything. I was like, oh man, I like, it. And what you're talking about is really making people laugh, is your skill. The skill that you have to set people at ease very quickly, Well,
that's my goal, of course, is to, the thing that I get told the most after shows is it wasn't like you were a comedian. It was like you were a dude just sitting on my couch talking, and that's what I'm going for, as odd as that sounds, is because I want people to forget they're at a comedy show. I want them to not try to guess what the punchline is. I want them to just kind of, be immersed in what feels like a 50-minute story instead of 10 5-minute jokes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I try to put as much effort into the segues between jokes in the correct order so that there's like a bit of a build and, like the peaks and valleys, and hopefully end on a really high note. Like I take all of that into account. It's not just how long can I get up here and talk for. And the end result, what I hope is that people will think I was just up there talking.
Yeah.
That I haven't rehearsed it and practiced it for 20 years. Like I want them to just be like, he's just funny, like that's the ultimate goal.
And, and Josh, that is definitely a skill. You talk about the peaks and valleys, and what a lot of people don't know as a headliner, because you are a headliner, that is when you go into your show, you're going to get people that are tired. You have to watch the crowd, whether they're eating, you know what I mean? So talk a little bit about that, of while you're doing your set, you're also in tune with the audience. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm a stand-up myself, and you've been doing it longer than me. But, in the process, I had to learn that, okay, the checks are coming, they're starting to order their food. Tell us a little bit about that experience and understanding how to make that work in your show.
I think it just literally comes with doing it for, like they always say like 10,000 hours is when you get good at something. Right. And I think that it's something that I wasn't ever trying to get good at. I just think that anybody who does it long enough learns how to do it over time. I'm sure it's the same way with you. I'm sure that, when you're on camera or in an audience and someone's speaking in your earpiece, you develop the skill to keep talking while you're listening. Right. And it's kind of the same thing. And there's a weird sort of out of body thing that'll happen sometimes when you're doing stand up, where you're going through the joke and it's coming out, but you're also in your mind thinking that guy's taking a bite of his sandwich and this girl won't shut up and this person Candy Crush in the front row. And somehow you can focus on all those things and you can remind yourself, like, when I get done with this, I want to say something else that maybe I don't normally say, but it just came to me. And you can do all that while even though you're talking and in a bit and you have a timing that you've worked on. And it's just, there's no practicing it. It's just something that comes with like repetition. And it's definitely a skill that I'm glad I've developed, of being able to continue with my act, but also react in the moment, like in real time to things that might be going on in the room.
Mm-hmm. And, and that's pretty scary because, I do improv. But the one thing, when I do improv, I'm not afraid of the audience. And the one thing that I was also always very hard for me is when I did my stand-up, I would go into the audience, but I wouldn't stay there too long.
Yeah.
Because it's a slippery slope, right? And it's a tool that I never 100% mastered. I could survive. I can go and just dip my toe in the water. But, some comedians could just kind of like go and have like a a willy-nilly conversation or go into a little deep, but they know how to pull out of it. And I didn't have the tools to do that.
Yeah, I'm jealous of those guys. Like, there's comics that you could literally see a different show every night because 90% of it is going to be based off of the answers they receive by asking questions of people in the audience. But that scares me to death, Plus, like I said, like I've really worked on my act as a whole. So to deviate from that is probably doing a disservice to myself, because whatever I try to go pull out of, crowd work is probably not going to get as good of a response as like material that I've worked on, So
yeah,
I like as little interaction with the audience as possible. Sometimes you can't help it because, some bachelorette party wants to be the star of the show, or some drunk guy doesn't realize how loud he's being, or whatever it is. You have to address it because everybody else expects you to. But ideally for me is like, I go in there, no interruptions. I give my act the way that I wrote it, and I leave. Like, that's how I prefer it.
Yeah. I want to go into a little bit about your career, and I just want to show a couple of the people you've worked with. Tell us a little bit about this photo, because you told me you've actually toured with Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah. So my first big time manager in LA. He was one of the producers of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. And so for about 3 years, I kind of rotated between opening for Larry the Cable Guy, Bill Engvall, and Ron White. And so it was absolute. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it's as close as a comedian can feel to being a rock star. This was backstage in Charlotte. Biggest crowd I ever did. Bobcats Arena. It was 11,000 people.
Wow.
It was just like, I mean, it's insane. You're on stage and there's jumbotrons. I mean, you see it all the time with you, but like for a comedian that's, started out doing open mic nights in front of 4 people, like
that's massive, man. And half that crowd laughing, the energy is insane.
It's crazy.
And so,
and I'm sure you've noticed this too. What people don't understand is when you do arenas like that, like you have to adjust your act just based off of sound and how far it has to travel before it gets back to you. It's something that you can't prepare yourself for, that literally it takes so long for your voice to get to the back of the room. There's Sarah.
Yeah, this is another comedian I really like, Sarah Silverman. I remember watching this stand up and just being shocked. I was like, but she's so funny. She's so funny.
And fearless. This was outside the Hollywood Improv on Melrose, which is like one of the most famous comedy clubs in the world. I had done a set that night, and she was actually there with her boyfriend at the time, Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, okay.
Watching a comedian that was going to be on his show. So I asked if I could get a picture because, I mean, just like you, like I just like she's so fearless, and just like the level of I don't care how you feel is. I mean, I admire it so much to just like not care at all.
Yeah, that's really cool. And here we go. You got Finesse and Craig. Tell us about this picture. There's some big hitters here.
Yeah. So Finesse and I were buddies. We had actually met just before this, and this is in Atlanta at the Punchline, which is like another like one of the best clubs that has ever existed. And so Finesse and I were booked to open for Craig, and this was before Craig got the office. So within about a year after this photo was taken, Craig was on The Office, the biggest comedy in the world, and Finesse was picked up to be a member of the cast on Saturday Night Live. Wow. So I don't know what I did wrong in that year. But
you came on my show.
but I'm still good friends with both of them. Craig is I mean, everybody loves Craig. And Finesse, he's still out there crushing it. Finesse made me this close to SNL. I mean, it was incredible. I wrote some sketches that he submitted and ended up using on the show. So for me to watch SNL and see something I wrote, I mean, it was like, I mean, what's cooler than that? Especially when it was the thing that I had, my lifelong dream was to be on that show. So if I just got to hang out backstage and have a good friend that was on it, that was close enough for me.
Oh man, congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Now I chose these 3 pictures on purpose because they all have because I'm a Disney guy. They all have a Disney connection because Finesse was on Disney Ant Farm, Vanellope, is Sarah, and of course Larry the Cable Guy is Mater. So
yeah,
that was my little tie-in.
I didn't pick up on that.
Man.
See, man, that's the thing is like my kids are so jealous that I'm talking to you because they saw you host a show with the cast of Zombies.
Oh,
like their favorite movies of all time. And mine too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, okay. Zombies is good. The kids love Zombies.
Yeah.
Here you are with Mike Myers.
This was at SNL. This was actually the season premiere. I want to say 2006. Steve Carell was the host. And so a lot of times on the season premiere, they'll bring in some heavy hitters. And Mike Myers was backstage because he had done a bit with Kanye West that reenacted an awkward exchange they had when Kanye West said on national TV. It was like during a fundraiser. He was like, George Bush doesn't like black people or whatever. That was with Mike Myers on the stage. So they recreated it at SNL because Kanye was the musical guest that night.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they recreated it. I remember that moment, though.
It was like, they were meeting at the backstage coffee. It was the first time they'd seen each other since the incident. And so I went up to him because he's like, I said before, watching SNL like really shaped my sense of humor more than anything. And he was my favorite. So I asked if I could take a picture with him. And I just love, if you notice, both of us did that left eyebrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
When I saw the picture later, I was like, that is too cool.
Oh, I just noticed it. Oh, yeah. I see it now. Oh, man. That's pretty cool. And what was he like? He seems like a genius of comedy.
I mean, I only got to spend a few minutes with him, but he could not have been nicer. I mean, for being what's essentially the biggest night of the year at SNL, for being one of the biggest stars and movie stars in their history, for some unknown dude to come up to him and just thank him for everything he's done and his influence he had on me, he could not have been kinder.
Wow. And you talked about Steve Carell. Here he is. He looks just like he just stepped out of the office.
Yeah, look at that. Look how skinny I was. Yeah, that was that same night. That was at the after party. And again, could not have been nicer. He was just standing around. I introduced myself as one of Finesse's buddies. And I was actually filming my half-hour special that week in comedy for Comedy Central in New York. So he was asking me about stand-up. And I mean, come on, it's Steve Carell.
I can't imagine just you being in the room with those amazing people. I just chose this picture because you look like you're 5 years old. I just want to say that right now. You look like a 5-year-old next to Shaq.
I felt like a 5-year-old when I got to meet him. So this story won't have as much power as it did back then, but this was in South Beach at the South Beach Comedy Festival. And that was the week that I found out I was getting a half-hour special, and it was because I had done a show not knowing that the president of Comedy Central was in the audience. And so I had met, like through random circumstances, I'd met a bunch of celebrities that I had always wanted to meet. I had gotten my half-hour special. I got to talk to Ken Griffey Jr. on the phone, which is such a whole other story in and of itself. And we're having lunch one day, and this is like the middle of the week, and they say, Josh, you've already had like the week of your dreams. Like what could possibly top this week? And I said, I want to meet Shaquille O'Neal. And I left lunch and walked back to my hotel, and he was walking down the street like a half hour after I said it.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, Shaq, you're not going to believe this, man, but I just a half hour ago wished that I could meet you. And it happened.
Did you put it out in the atmosphere? You put it out in the atmosphere.
Yep.
Yeah. And as a nerd, I got to say, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert England.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I was in a radio station in Baltimore. A lot of times when you're on the road doing stand-up, you go to the different local radio stations to promote your shows that weekend. And you never know who else they're going to have on there. There was like a horror convention in town.
Okay.
So Robert Englund was in the studio, and of course he did the Freddy face and
the Freddy face. Are you a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street films?
Oh yeah, I was terrified of them as a kid.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Like I literally every Halloween I was Black Freddy Krueger. Seriously, and nobody could tell me Freddy Krueger wasn't black. I was like, I'm Black Freddy Krueger.
That's fantastic.
Because Freddy Krueger could be anybody. And speaking of heavy hitters, man, here you are with Louis C.K. and Chris Rock.
Yeah, I have a real knack of being in the photos with people where they don't look at the camera, but I do. So it looks like I just slid in. But this is also at the Hollywood Improv, and Chris Rock had his show. Louis C.K. I don't know if people know this, but Louis C.K. was his like head writer on the Chris Rock show. He wrote Pootie Tang, and they're like best friends. And
I didn't know he was a writer like that. Okay.
Oh yeah, for a long time before he even got known for his stand-up and other things. But yeah, they were there hanging out one night, and of course, I was just like, I mean, come on, it's two of the greats of stand-up.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of the GOAT,
come on.
See, and he's looking into the camera, Josh. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well,
he's
this
looking at the camera.
Cincinnati at the Funny Bone, and this was the first show that Dave did when he came back from Africa. So he took like all that time off, disappeared. Nobody knew where he was. His first time back on stage, I got to open for him, and this was backstage after the show. He is he is everything that you hope Dave Chappelle would be. He's cool. He's smart. He's kind. Back in October, I got to go to a couple of the shows he was doing up here. He's doing outdoor shows. Got to hang out with him after those shows. I mean, he's the kind of guy that you just wish you could just sit in the same room and just watch and listen to 24 hours a day. Wow.
That is amazing. Man, Josh, thank you for walking us down there with the people you've met and the people that have inspired you, man. Speaking of inspiration, because I like my show to be about, people that inspire me. And like I said, you inspire me watching your stand up, getting to meet you, you sending me the t-shirts. Is there a comedian that maybe we didn't see, or maybe before you really got into comedy, that, besides your father, like you said, it really inspired you to keep going forward?
Mitch Hedberg, the late Mitch Hedberg, he's my favorite comedian of all time, but he was very kind to me. He was the first comedian to take me out on the road as like an opening act. I still had my day job at Procter & Gamble at the time, so I had to use vacation days to go work with him on the road.
But, I know what that's like.
He was encouraging, tried to get me to quit my job to follow my dream. So he was the first person I called once I decided that I was going to leave the IT world and do stand-up full-time, not knowing how long it might last. But, this summer will be 20 years since my last day as a full-time IT guy.
Oh, wow.
But, inspiration, the person who really changed my life more than anything that didn't realize they did, and I just alluded to it a minute ago, was Dave Chappelle. Like you mentioned, I live in Cincinnati. And so for a long time, I really had to weigh whether or not I needed to move to New York or LA to kind of get to whatever the next level is. Because in stand-up, it seems a lot of times you're measured by like how famous you are, movies or your own TV show.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't understand is you can make a really good living just being a good stand-up that a lot of people probably haven't heard of, And so Dave was on Inside the Actors Studio, and the host asked him, what was it like when you told your parents you wanted to be a comedian? Because they were college professors. And he said they thought it was a phase. And he remembers one of his parents saying, well, if you're not successful, will you give up and do something else? And he said, that's when I had to determine what my definition of success was. He says, if a teacher makes $35,000 a year and I can make $35,000 a year doing stand-up, I'd rather be a comedian than a teacher. And when I heard that, it really gave me perspective on what my definition of success was, because I live in Ohio, but I'm trying to make it in the entertainment industry. And I realized, I live in a nice house and I've got a family and kids that I don't have to be on the road all the time. Because I've reached a level that doesn't make me have to live out of a suitcase. And to me, that's success. And it really inspired me to hear that, to be content with where I'm at in this business and not constantly focusing on all the things that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So I've tried to become somewhat of an inspiration, if I can, to other people who are like, I'd love to be a comedian, but I don't want to live in a studio apartment and never get to see my family. And you know what I mean? So like, I'm trying to show people it's possible to follow your dreams in a practical way and not have to feel like if you haven't reached the absolute pinnacle of your profession, it doesn't mean you weren't successful.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you saying that, Josh, because I think that's something I've kind of been struggling with myself. And I know maybe other people are in whatever jobs they have. Like, what is success? What are you reaching for? And it depends on your role and your position and what success is in that job. And, I was talking to my fiance about it and really, because we're in the business, you're actors. And sometimes you reach for something that's not really there. What is success? Success is having that TV show or having that big commercial, but you're successful and you don't realize it because you're always in the industry reaching for the next big thing. So I'm glad you really brought that up.
And what do I see above your head? What are those things above your head on the
those
top?
Those are awards from the Disney Entertainment.
And who's on the award?
Mickey Mouse.
And who's
my name?
Mickey Mouse. Right? I mean, whenever you feel that way, look at the top of your cabinet and realize that you've gotten an award from one of the biggest, most well-respected companies that's ever existed. You've done good enough there to receive multiple awards.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. And I think we can all look at that too. If you're watching and you're wondering, that success is you being able to sit in your house and hug your kids, or pet your dog, or, go talk to your mom, because she's living close by or whatever, It's like, I think 2020 has also helped us go back a little bit and appreciate the simple things we took for granted. Like, I've been going to see my parents every weekend, and I didn't do that before,
Now, see, if my mom's watching, she's going to be like, you don't do that.
Hilarious. All right. Well, Josh, you know what? I want to get into some more of your comedy before we say goodbye to you. I know we're running a little bit over, but I really want to show some more of your funny stuff, man. I know it's weird for you to watch it, man, but people are loving this. So I want to bring another one in here. So here we go. Josh Sneed, everybody.
I just love food. And it's not that I eat too much. I just eat the wrong things. I love bad food. But I know I'm not the only one. I mean, Bath & Body Works was selling a candle that smells like mashed potatoes. How fat are you? Okay? When you want your bedroom to smell like buttered mashed potatoes. This fat. I got the gravy one too. You guys, it smelled so good. I'm not going to lie. I can't lie to you. You're so nice. It smelled just like them. It was buy one, get one. And I got a free bottle of fried chicken body wash because I opened up a credit card to pay for it. Like, it was totally a good deal.
Good stuff, Josh. Good stuff. So much fun. So much fun. So, a lot of our comedy, we get the comedy. There is some truth in there. There's a little bit of truth in there. So talk about it a little bit. Are there any bits that, that you actually... Sometimes, because they said, I think Mark Twain said it best. He said, comedy is pain plus time.
Yep.
So do you have any bits like that maybe I haven't shown yet that you kind of like, there's some truth in there, and it took me a while to really find the comedy, but you found it.
I mean, all my material is based in some kind of truth. It's just exaggerated to various extents, sometimes it'll be like, if when I was single and I went on like 4 terrible dates and they all had something crazy happen in them, when I actually talk about them on stage, I make it sound like it was on one date or all with the same person so that the audience can kind of start to picture like a character, you know what I mean? So they might all be truth, but they were 4 different stories instead of me making it seem like it was one story. Do you know what I mean? But almost all of the stories that I tell have some amount of truth, and I try to keep as little embellishing as possible because I want, that's the ultimate thing. Like, I know it sounds weird to say right now. We already talked about Louis C.K., but Bill Cosby was like my comedy hero when I was he was the only stand-up I ever watched, and I loved him because he was such a good storyteller. Like he could, I mean, how many times have you told a story that was hilarious and somebody doesn't laugh and you're just like, I guess you had to be there. Like I've always been impressed by the comics who are able to recreate stories as if you were there with it, you know? And so I try to use as much truth as possible and kind of force myself to just get good at telling the story versus like coming up with more lies to make it sound better.
Yeah. Now, Josh, I really want to be responsible with your time. I really appreciate it. We're going a little bit over, but I want to talk a little bit before I show the final clip because I love it, and it's very appropriate for the holiday that's coming up. But tell us a little bit about your T-shirts and where we can find more of you, and if people want to check out your designs and different things like that.
Oh yeah, great. So in 2005, I started a T-shirt company with one of my best friends, and it was because I thought a day like today might come where I have a wife and I have kids, and I don't want to have to be on the road all the time. So I started this company with him in 2005, making funny T-shirts, and he did the design. He's an art student, and I would talk about him when I was on the road at my comedy shows. And that was the first website we launched. And today that website's called Fluffy Crate. So that's like our funny T-shirts, pop culture references, things of that nature. It's like where the Star Wars shirts that you and Samantha are wearing came from. And then in 2010, we started a localized company here in Cincinnati called Cincy Shirts. And it was a lot of vintage designs of like restaurants and nightclubs and, that sort of defunct sports teams that everybody here remembers when they were grown up, but now they're long gone. And that brand really took off for us. We actually have 2 stores here in Cincinnati. And then we started that same kind of idea for other cities. It's called Old School Shirts. So if you're in a city in the US, you can go to oldschoolshirts.com and hopefully find your city and see, vintage retro designs from your city. But it's just really fun for me because it's grown into a real business that keeps me busy during the day when I'm on the road doing stand up at night, or when I'm home because the world is shut down in a pandemic. It's really nice to have this sort of side hustle that's taken off, and it's a lot of fun for me. It's fun to come up with the designs and share those designs with people like you and get feedback. And I'm really proud of what we've turned it into.
Yeah. Well, Josh, again, I want to thank you for your time, man. And thank you for helping me bring some laughter to people out there. I got some laughs as well. And like I mentioned, you're an awesome dude. You're a funny comedian. You're a dad. You're a husband. And you're a business owner. So it's so good to have you on the show. And I'm glad I got to surprise you with Samantha.
Yeah, it was great, man. And you're so polite, but dude, I'll come on anytime you'll have me. Like, even if we're just chatting on Facebook, like you are the best, man. Everybody loves you.
Oh, thank you, man. And I think I'll bring you back on. I think I might do a Star Wars show where I can get everybody on and we just talk Star Wars and do some Q&A. So what I want to do now is I want to show the final clip of you that I really love. I think it's very funny. And I'll just bring you back and we'll say goodbye, okay? All right, here we go, everybody. Josh Sneed.
The last Valentine's Day, I was at my local grocery store in the floral department trying to find that perfect bouquet to take home with me. And there's another gentleman a couple feet away doing the exact same thing. And he didn't talk to me, but he was talking to me because I was the only one around, and he was talking pretty loud. This is what he says. He goes, man, it's crazy how much money you got to spend on something that's just going to die. And I was like, I know. And you got to buy them flowers. Now, listen, people. I love my wife, but that may be the funniest thing I have ever said in my entire life. Okay? But he wasn't ready for it. He was like, well, good luck with that, buddy. And he just started to walk away. I was like, dude, that was gold. It's a good thing I'm on Twitter.
Josh!
Yeah, that was 100% true. That really happened exactly that way. And the first person I told was my wife. And what did she say? She didn't get mad. She said, you got to put that in your act.
Oh, man, that is so awesome. And thank you to your wife, too, because I know, sometimes you got to run those jokes by the wife, right?
Dude, She's the best. My second album cover is called Unsung Hero, and it's a picture that was taken 2 days after my son was born. She has no makeup on. Her hair is up. The image is me laying in the hospital bed holding my newborn son while she's off to the side giving me a drink of water, making it look like I did all the work.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the fact that she not only let me put that on social media, but then turned it into an album cover that was released by a major label, that just shows how awesome she is.
Oh, that is awesome, man. So, hey, a big shout out to your wife. Thank you to her for allowing us to enjoy you, and I know I'm in the same myself. So I got to give a shout out to my fiance Figgy, because, they support you just as much. You know what I mean? And when you're in the business like that, you need that support. So thank you to your wife.
Years, so she's probably ready for me to be shared with a lot of people for a while.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I want to tell you something, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. It has been a pleasure. It's been a blast talking to you. Thank you for spreading some joy, talking to me about comedy, of course, talking about Star Wars. And we definitely have to do this again. So I want to say thank you very much and goodbye to you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. See you later.
All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Mark Daniels Show. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm like 15 people away from 1,000 followers. So please find your friends, sign up your mom and your grandmother onto YouTube just so they can follow me, so I can get that 1,000 subscribers. I'd appreciate it. So thank you once again, always, for tuning in. A big shout out to Mouse Ears and Magic Podcast. They're always very supportive of me. They watch, they comment. When I'm not doing things right, they always help me out. So thank you so much to Mouse Ears and Magic Podcast. To everyone for watching, for your comments. I was trying to put your comments up. Unfortunately, we couldn't do a Q&A this time. We went over about almost 15 minutes. So thank you so much for hanging in there with me. So this has been the Mark Daniels Show. Thank you once again for tuning in. Enjoy your night. Have an amazing 2021. And I'll see you next time on the Mark Daniels Show.